At another stop in Columbus, you took on the president on prenatal care for expectant mothers. Here's what you said in this passage.
One of the things that you don't know about Obamacare and one of the mandates is they require free prenatal testing in every insurance policy in America. Why? Because it saves money in health care. Why? Because free prenatal testing ends up in more abortions and therefore less care that has to be done because we cull the ranks of the disabled in our society.
Senator, I have to ask you to give some explanation of that. You sound like you're saying that the purpose of prenatal care is to cause people to have abortions, to get more abortions in this country. I think there are any number of testing. I think any number of people would say that's not the purpose at all.
Well, that's Bob, that's simply not true. The bottom line is that a lot of prenatal tests are done to identify deformities in utero, and the customary procedure is to encourage abortions. And in fact, prenatal testing, that particularly amniocentesis, and I'm not talking about general prenatal care. You said prenatal care. I didn't say prenatal care shouldn't be covered. We're talking about specifically prenatal testing and specifically amniocentesis, which is a procedure that actually creates a risk of having a miscarriage when you have it, and is done for the purposes of identifying maladies of a child in the womb. In which in many cases, and in fact most cases, physicians recommend, particularly if there's a problem, recommend abortion. We know, Bob, that 90% of Down syndrome children in America are aborted. So to suggest where does that come from, I have a child who has trisomy 18. Almost 100% of trisomy 18 children are encouraged to be aborted. So I know what I'm talking about here.
Well, I know you know what you're talking about. I know that well. I know you also had another child that was stillborn. But
and I was,
didn't,
no, it was not
didn't you want to know about this? Just a minute. Well, just hold on.
My child was not stillborn. My child was born alive.
All right.
And he lived 2 hours. And by the way, prenatal testing was, we had a sonogram done there, and they detected a problem. And yes, the doctor said, you know, you should consider an abortion. This is typical, Bob. This is what goes on in medical rooms around the country. And yes, prenatal testing, amniocentesis, does in fact result more often than not in this country in abortion. That is a fact.
I stand corrected on the stillborn. You're absolutely right. I simply misspoke. But, Senator, do you not want any kind of prenatal testing? I mean, would we just turn our back on science if this is something that expectant mothers should not go through, that it's best not to know about these things ahead of time? I mean, is that what you're saying here?
No, I'm not saying. Look, people have the right to do it, but to have the government force people to provide it free just has, to me, is a bit loaded. There are all sorts of prenatal testing which should be provided free. I have no problem with that if the insurance companies want to. I'm not for any of these things to be forced. Let me step back and say I don't believe any of these procedures, anything in insurance should be forced. So let me just start from there.
Okay.
But the idea of having, for example, sonograms and other types of prenatal care, absolutely. If I think that is a wise thing to do, and if I was an employer, I would certainly encourage that. But not all prenatal testing. Amniocentesis basically are used for the purposes of identifying children who are disabled, and most cases end up as a result with abortions.
You're not saying, let me just ask you, that you're not saying that because of this that the president looks down on disabled people, are you? You're not accusing him of that.
Well, the president supported partial birth abortion, and partial birth abortion is a procedure used almost exclusively to kill children late in pregnancy when they've been found out to be disabled. The president voted for a provision that said that children born alive as a result of abortions late in pregnancy who are otherwise viable should be allowed to be killed by the doctor. I think the president has a very bad record on the issue of abortion in children who are disabled, who are in the womb, and I think this simply is a continuation of that idea.
Well, since you brought all this up yesterday, I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a clear understanding of exactly what you meant
Yep.
and how you feel about this.